Hey, what's going on? Week 6, the gift.
It's week 6, officially halfway.
Yes, Andres here.
Cheyenne here.
We're going to dive into the mastering the art of sales, the art and science, of sales. This lesson is very important because it's going to unlock your ability to be able to convert a stranger into a paying customer with a very specific script, a very specific process that we follow, that we've been able to close thousands and thousands of dollars in the past, year or so using, a variations of this script, but it's been refined for you. So we're going to actually give you the script, all for you to just adapt it. So,
right. And we'll go through that at the end of the lesson.
Exactly. So let's take a look at this.
Let's jump into the objective. Okay, so the objective of this lesson, I've crafted a sales script for my product or service and understand the psychology and mindset needed to succeed at sales. Right, so we're going to be jumping into a lot of the psychology behind what sales even is, trying to eliminate some false beliefs that we may have, and then of course show you the sales script that works for us, and you will be editing that, adapting that to your own clients and your own business as well. Okay, right. And the key topics that we're going to jump in today are: number 1, the psychology of sales; number 2, breaking false beliefs about sales; number 3, understanding your client's primary needs; number 4, tools of titans; number 5, crucial sales truths to remember; and number 6, the perfect 7-step close scripts. So we'll jump right in.
Right, let's do it. So the psychology of sales. Okay, so first of all, understanding that sales is the lifeblood of your business, and you already know this, right? If you've already been, in the marketplace in any way or form, in any capacity, you would know that sales is the most important piece. But there's a lot of misconceptions of sales. There's a lot of, bad rep sometimes because, we become very salesy, when we get so attached to the outcome. So we're going to go into the psychology, the mindset of it, because believe me, you could have the best script in the world, but if you're not in the right mindset, it will be obvious in your tone.
Right. And the mindset is extremely crucial, especially if you're someone like me that was really, I guess sales in general left a very bad taste in my mouth. Right. We kind of see the representation of like Wolf on Wall Street, like very aggressive, very in your face.
Like yelling in the room.
Exactly. And that was just a big turn off. I mean, that may work for some people, but I mean, presumably if you're taking the authentic authority, that's probably not going to be the type of salesmanship that you're drawn to, and for good reason. And so we really want to break those stereotypes and get to the real psychology behind sales.
Definitely. So first, let me just give you a quick, I love this part. It just helps me see it so clearly. Sometimes I even picture it or imagine it as I'm going through my calls. So your customers, they come with incoherent brainwaves, right? They're full of different pains. And these are some of the ones you've already identified in your, ideal avatar and in your message. Nobody loves me, or I can't sleep. I feel sick. There's not enough time. Don't have enough money. These are all things are like firing in their brains, and they're producing these incoherent brainwaves. Then you will help them fire and wire their right neural pathways, because here's the thing. There is a specific combination of things that when you activate them results in clarity and decisive action, where they feel whole, they understand, they feel clear, they trust, they're ready to make an empowered decision. And we're going to dive deep into this mindset, because if you understand this, you'll be able to do this in any industry, in any niche, and it is not hard. Once you understand the process, believe me, the only thing that separates you from achieving your sales goals, your income goals, is your ability to be able to convert a stranger into a paying client. All right, so let's dive in to the 6 steps to the sales process. Okay, number 1, building rapport. Okay, very self-explanatory. This is when you start opening the conversation, start finding some things in common, start finding some grounding. And again, we're going to dive deeper into this with that specific step-by-step script that we're going to give you. But I want you to have a really good understanding of what happens at a macro level. Okay, number 2, identifying needs. All right, needs is the key word, because if you don't understand what they really need, how can you give them what they want? How can you give them, the right pill for their pain?
Right, the right diagnosis.
Right diagnosis. And we're going to compare it to a doctor in just a few moments. But number 3 is presenting. Okay, there is a time for presenting, but believe me when I tell you, they do most of the talking. You are more guiding them with questions throughout the call. And there is a time for presenting, 4, a time for answering objections, and 5, a time for to close the sale. And if you've done everything right, then 6, getting resales and referrals, will have to do more with your product and with your level of follow-up after the call, after the product. Right, so here is sales through the art lens, and we've been hammering this concept literally like throughout the whole, program, which is your clearly defined current state, your clearly defined desired state here in green, and then you and your offer as the bridge. All right.
So bridging the gap.
Bridging the gap, exactly. And I'll be honest with you, just to give you a very quick story here. When we first started, and even to this day, when we go through this process in different niches or with different clients, like it's not easy. Like identifying this, literally the difference between resonating with your audience and being like on point about what you're selling, and like having to go back to the drawing board. Sometimes there's little nuances in words that literally make the whole difference, because it might be somewhat defined, but it's not clearly defined. Or you might have the current state, but you're not 100% sure of the desired state. And so there's some tweaking involved. Yes, there is also some refining that you will come with sales calls, with talking to people, with researching your market, some other things that we already told you that you should be doing up to this point.
Right. It's a process, but definitely know that sometimes the seemingly smallest tweaks can make the world of a difference. And so even though, it may feel like you're very far away from really understanding what that perfect offer is, that perfect desired state, it actually may not be that far away. Right. It may just be a small tweak, and that will make, the biggest change you could ever see.
For sure. So the art and science of selling. The art and science of client conversion is achieved by creating separation. Key word here, my friends. Creating separation from the agitated current state to a clearly defined and separated state. Okay, so let's just go back here quickly. The red representing your current state, green your desired state, and the farther apart these circles are together, the bigger the gap, the easier it will be to close, the easier it will be for you to plug in you and your offer as that bridge. All right, it says once you have created separation from the agitated state, you must position you and your offer as the vehicle to bridge the gap between the two states, right? So for example, this program, the current state, it's someone that wants to grow. The current state is someone that is, having trouble understanding how to set up their business, how to get clear on all these different things, and, essentially struggling to generate clients, generate income.
To move to that next level,
exactly.
Free up more time.
Exactly. Then the desired outcome is someone that wants to scale to 6 figures. It's someone that wants to put the right systems, that wants to create high ticket offers, right? Like those are the desired state, because they know that that's what they want, that's what's gonna, get them the lifestyle or whatever, they're looking for. And so you and your offer, in this case, the authentic authority, us and our offer, is that bridge that allows you to do that when you implement each of the steps. So it becomes the vehicle that bridges the gap. Again, we've been hammering this concept between the two states. And check this out. You want to memorize this literally, because it's so important. True master salesman creates separation from an agitated situation. Remember I showed you the brainwaves incoherent is kind of like this agitated situation, to a clearly defined current situation and clearly defined desired situation. Look, when there is vagueness, when there is like abstraction, it's so hard to activate those right neural pathways that will get them to boom, take action. So your job is to clearly define them. You are going to be doing this diagnosis, and it's not about your product. It's not about your, like your shiny, new service or whatever you have. It's about them, and it's about defining this to its simplest form so that they can articulate it, so that it fires for them. You might already be clear on it, but they don't. And that's the whole point. You want to guide them to get clear on that situation. So to put it simply, masters don't sell things or products. They sell clearly defined futures or hopes and dreams. Right? We told you this literally at one of the first lessons of the vision of how people in reality are wanting to get into a specific future that they desire for themselves. Whether that looks like a digital online business, or that looks like a new vehicle or a new house. They have this clearly defined future in their mind of what they picture themselves in this future event.
Exactly. Right. You're selling them the future that they want, the place, that desired situation that they truly want to be in. It's not about you, making the most sales and, getting them to close. It's really about helping them.
Right.
And if you can help them, great, then the sale can be closed. If you can't, then there's no point in making a sale, because it's not going to help them get to where they need to be. And that's obviously unethical, right? And so this is all about ethically helping people get to where they want to be. If you can truly do that and they want it, right? They want you to be the one to do that.
Definitely.
Then that is a perfect scenario.
Yes, exactly. So I want to dive into the 10 sacred mind shifts. And I'm not exaggerating here. These mind shifts are mind shifts that I'm working on, every single day as I get on the phone with people, because they're hard. They're really good, and they are boiled down to 10. Like, believe me, like if you learn this, you will be the best salesman, out there. And you're going to be literally above some of the highest paid sales guys out there with a million tactics, because the mind shift is like most of the heavy lifting. So I really want you to take this in, and let's dive into it. So number 1, life supports that which supports life. And let me just pre-frame this section with telling you a quick story about my good buddy Brad Newman. So that guy has done over 2,000 sales calls and enrollments, collected more than $1 million in revenue in these one-on-one calls, this enrollment calls. And he's learned so much from multiple different mentors and from experience. And this is one of the first ones he also starts with in his teaching, his lesson, that he also got it from us, from a mentor. So it's so interesting how the truth and the things that really do work keep passing along. And now we're passing it to you, because it's so key. Because here's the thing, law of reciprocity, when you do something for someone, when you show up with life, you show up with, a vibrant, loving attitude, believe me, you're going to attract more of that. Even if someone's not in that state, they're going to want to get to that state, because they're going to say man, how is this person so confident, so life-giving, so loving? And your certainty is going to overcome their doubt. Your trust is going to attract more trust. So life supports that which supports life. And even God himself has put this as a law in the universe, where everything that gives life supports more life.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like your vibe attracts your tribe. What you put out into the world, you will definitely get back. If you are being loving, you're being giving, people are going to see that and be like, wow, this person really cares about me.
Right.
And I want to work with them. I want them to be the one to help me to get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And it's just the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And just to give you a quick analogy, maybe so that it really gets grounded in your mind. Imagine you are a tree, a beautiful, luscious tree that is in the middle of the spring, just blooming. And all of a sudden, so big, so beautiful that it even attracts birds. And then they put their own nest, and then they start raising their own family. So it all started with this tree, and next thing you know, it's attracting more life. So life supports that which supports life. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's a really cool analogy, and you can see this in flowers, then the bees come, right? And so this whole process is no different in your sales. If you show up with this amazing attitude to serve, to give, to love, and I'm talking to myself here, sometimes I don't feel this, so I need to remind myself of these laws as well, and this mind shifts. But if you do this well, number 1 will take you really far, even if all you did was number 1. So I hope you really memorize that and even come back to this lesson to, dig for some of these golden nuggets. All right. So number 2, love covers all fear. So this kind of stems from 1, obviously, but this goes deeper into one key question. What story are they telling themselves? Because it takes a village to raise a child. And there's even a verse in the Bible that says, perfect love casts out all fear. So we know that one of the biggest reasons why people don't buy is because there is fear. Fear of failing, fear of not working out, fear of, spending money and not having any return on their investment, right? There's all these different fears. And so there's nothing that can cover that can cover fear, that can destroy fear better than love. So once again, life supports that which supports life, and love covers all fear. So if you show up with an intention, a mindset, a heart of loving, giving, compassion, really trying to understand what story they're telling themselves, because they might be telling themselves a story that, well, because in the past I failed, therefore I'm going to fail again. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right. Watch out.
It's really remembering that, you are definitely on that call to, of course, you want to grow your business, you want to get to that next level, but at the end of the day, everyone is in their own little world.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone is their own protagonist of their story.
Right.
And everyone, no matter how big or how small in your eyes, is fighting their own battle. And that's why listening to them and really trying to understand where they're at and what's holding them back, whether it's internal, external, whatever it may be, maybe a mix of both, you have to come at this call at your salesmanship from a place of trying to understand where they are and trying to just realizing that they are fighting their own battle. And that is something you have to address first before they're going to care about you and what your agenda is, right? What you're trying to offer. They have to be heard, feel understood, and listen to the battle that they're fighting. And in turn, try and help them overcome that battle.
Exactly. Number 3, you are a problem finder and solution provider, not a product pusher. What does that mean? Don't be a sleazy salesman. No one cares about your product until they're aware of the gap. Okay, we talked about the gap in a couple of slides before this. But if you adopt this mindset, if you make this mind shift of not being a product pusher, you're not there to try to insert your product there. No, you don't even, you might not even have anything for sale. You are there to diagnose. You're there to problem find. And imagine you're showing up with life, number 1. You're showing up with love, number 2. You're showing up to find problems and to provide solutions.
Yeah. And, I mean, that mind shift was definitely a game changer in the way I started thinking of sales, because for me, it was so opposite. I'm like, sales is all about just pushing a product on me that I don't want, that I don't need. They're just trying to get money from me. And a lot of us feel that way, right?
Of course.
We have people show up at our doors, or people in stores come up to us, asking us to help a million times. And you're kind of like, I don't even know why I'm here yet. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, right? And so I think, a lot of us have that really bad taste in our mouth about sales. And this mind shift completely changed, the outlook that we should have when we're trying to share what we have to offer, right? It's diagnosing. Is this even a problem I can solve? Yeah. And if it is, then it's my moral obligation.
I love that. I love that moral obligation, that sense of like, higher calling, higher, way of seeing things. Because again, it's easy to get caught up in the material world. Right. I'm thinking that that this sales call, it's all about the money. It's all about the product. And you'll hear guys say that. I'm be like, yeah, who cares? At the end of the day, you need the money to pay the bills or to feed your family or whatever. And you can get so caught in that you show up in a very transactional way in the call.
Right. It's all about what you can get.
Yeah, what you can get
from the client, from the customer.
Right.
And not the other way around. Yeah. They're there to get something from you, their desired situation.
Right.
And so when you flip that and when I start to look at it as you're there to help and it's your moral obligation to help them if you can and they want you to help them, then the game changes. And that can only come from a place of true authenticity and ethical judgment, right? If you are not there for good reasons, well, you probably are going to feel like a seasoned salesman.
Yeah.
And then you got to question why you're even doing this in the first place.
I know. And it can be, a downward spiral from there. So I'm literally designing this so that you can screenshot this. And this 10, I'm going to go into the next slide in a second, but I want you to copy this, put it in your, phone, your laptop, wherever it is, print them out if you need to, and read them before moving into your calls. That's going to be a huge game changer, because so many times we're there and we're thinking, oh my gosh, like, is this the right prospect? Is they going to buy? Am I going to say the right things? I'm not feeling so rested today. X, Y, Z, right? But if you leave that and you center yourself with these 10 sacred mind shifts, then you'll be so much more genuine, so much more authentic and powerful too, like a true leader, a leader that serves in each of these enrollment calls. And believe me, when you do the right thing, when you do the right, the right moves and the right script in this call, sales is going to become very easy for you. But practice. All right. So 4, high intention, low attachment. This is a tricky one, but is the mastering the balance between high intention to help, yet no attachment to the outcome or sale. All right. So I'm going to just take a second, a pause here to tell you that this one is probably one of the hardest ones. I mean, 2 is hard too, because sometimes you're just not feeling love. You're feeling,
Sorry guys, our cats are in the background, like having a wrestling match.
That's awesome.
Rolling on the floor. All right, guys, continue.
Yeah. So high intention, right? So it's again, showing up, really excited, really eager to help them and to problem find and to really diagnose why things are important to them and why it really matters and all these different things. But yet having low attachment to the sale. Low attachment means that you are not caring so much about whether or not you're going to make the sale. And of course, once again, the whole system we're giving you here is so that you're not in a scarcity mindset when going into these calls.
Right. And we know it's easy to get stuck in that mindset. Right. You're like, how can I not be attached? I'm struggling to pay the bills.
Right.
I'm paying for my kids' schooling, or I'm trying to get them into these certain classes.
Right.
So we get it. You're like, it's confusing at first, right? To feel like you're unattached, but it's a must, because if the person on the phone feels like you are desperate, right, that you're just trying to sell because you need the money, you've already lost.
Yeah, it's not gonna work out. I remember one of the recent clients, we sold them for like 10 grand. It was this package, right, that I gave him, and it was so interesting because throughout our conversation and as we were leading to the moment of the close, I actually, for one of the first times that I felt so unattached to the outcome, because I was just so excited for him that he was going to step up his game, step up his commitment level to change his life, that I was focusing on that. And as we know, you can only focus on one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. So I was focused on that outcome of what he was going to get, of what he was, excited for, that I stopped looking at the attachment on the outcome of what I was going to get. Yeah. And it was one of the easiest times where I was like, yeah, it's 10,000. And it was almost like I said, it's $1. Like I just literally didn't even care about the money at that point, because I was focused on that. Of course, I wanted that. And of course, it's a representative commitment of them wanting to take action. But the beauty was that when you put your focus on your intention versus the attachment, you're going to show up so different for them. And it's going to make the world of a difference.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. 5, focus on asking great questions. I'm going to give you some killer questions here as well in a second, but try to widen the gap as much as possible. Again, the wider the gap, the easier it will be to close. How do you widen the gap? Well, you start asking questions, trying to really understand why it's crucial that they get this. Sometimes you need to dig. People will say, oh, because it's going to give me a better life. Okay, well, what does that look like? Okay, how is that going to affect your marriage? Okay, how is that going to, like what is... Yeah, and sometimes you don't even need to guess. You can just ask them and say, like, how will that affect you in other areas? And why is that important to you?
Right. And that's the thing. Like, we kind of assume that people have already asked themselves these questions.
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
But a lot of the times they haven't. They only have a very vague idea of what better looks like, right? They haven't actually asked themselves, well, in all these different areas of my life, kind of like, the areas that we gave you in the vision to construct your own long-term and short-term visions. When they really get into that kind of detail, well, it becomes a lot more tangible, all the areas of needs, and that really does widen the gap.
Yeah.
Like, well, if my health looks like this, it's really far from that now. If my marriage looks happy and content and madly in love and going on dates, and we're none of those things right now, well, that pain, you feel the pain in that conversation now. Right? And that's really what it's about. It's showing them how far they are from that and helping them make an empowered decision to make a commitment for that desired situation.
Yes. And, put it simply, and I love what you say, thanks for sharing that. One of the key things is they haven't asked themselves these questions. Like, otherwise they would have already figured out what they want, and they would have been on the other side, on the desired situation already, but they're not. They're there on the call with you because they haven't gotten that result yet. And one of the main reasons is because no one has asked them some of these hard questions to really widen the gap. And again, some people might even feel bad. And I'm telling you right now, even to this day, sometimes I'm like, kind of hesitant to ask some of these more painful questions. Like I was on a call yesterday and I asked, and I remember my expression even being kind of like just squinting, kind of like it was painful for me to ask, how much more painful for them to answer. But it's okay to push when it's for their own good.
Right. Well, it's for love, and you have to look at it as if, a close friend.
Right.
Some of the best friends that I've ever had, and even my friends have told me, some of the most profound moments have been the times that we were brutally honest with each other.
Yeah.
Not rude, not mean, not trying to just, make fun of someone or make them cause pain and then not help them provide with a solution. But it's not sugarcoating a situation that you can see that there is not serving them. Right. So if my friend's in a very negative, toxic relationship, well, me just pretending that she's not in that relationship or acting like everything's okay is not serving her. And I'm not being a good friend if I don't ensure that she gets out of that relationship and bring her to epiphanies that she realizes, wow, I really don't deserve this. I need to, end this relationship or find someone who respects me, whatever it may be.
Yes.
Sugarcoating is not for, a very close friendship. You're supposed to be honest, because you're trying to help them and figure out a situation that's for their own good.
You got it.
That's what being a true friend is about.
You got it.
Or a spouse,
family
member, whatever.
Exactly. And you are a trusted advisor. You are you're there in that call to empower, to help someone make a really truthful and faithful decision in whatever it is that you're trying to do, because that is going to help them, right? So let's move on to 6 here. You must believe they're already millionaires. I love this one because sometimes we come to these calls, or even before the calls, just reading their applications or, kind of just talking to them. And we have so many biases because you saw this one picture on their profile, because they look like this, or because they said this. And sometimes we make assumptions and we think, oh, they can't afford it. We're already screwing ourselves from the get-go, because then you're going to show up on the call and then subconsciously you're going to be thinking, oh, they can't afford it. And you're not going to do your best, and you're going to already be like killing the call before it's even over.
Yeah, I think at the bottom of that is our own personal fears, right?
Yes.
If we're telling ourselves, they probably can't afford it. Well, then we're giving ourselves permission to show up on a call half-assed.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We're making excuses for ourselves.
Yes.
And really it's more about us than it is about them.
Yeah.
Because it's not based on any fact. It's really an assumption.
It's not. Exactly. And so believe they're already millionaires, because then it just takes away the pressure of the money. It takes away the pressure of the sale. If you already believe they're, full value and they got all the resources in the world, it's not about the money anymore, or if they can afford it. It's about if it's the right fit, right? If it actually is going to bridge the gap. Because if it's not, like yesterday I was in a call and I said, like, I don't think I can help you, because I really didn't think. I thought the person needed so much more clarity on what they wanted. They were kind of all over the place, and they just, weren't ready. And for what they wanted to do, I didn't think that our product was the best fit. And so I had to tell them. But it just takes away that pressure when you already know that, hey, they're good. Like, it's not money, even though it is, in a lot of these calls, but just believing that and telling yourself that story will allow you to stop reflecting your own fears that they can afford you in them.
Yeah. And it's just remembering that even if they're not a millionaire, if someone wants something, they will find a way to get the money. right?
sure.
Whether it's in their savings, whether they have a credit card, whether they can borrow it from a family member. If you want something, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
If you truly believe this is what you need to get to that next step, and you really want to get to that next step, you will find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so money is usually not an actual reason.
Yeah. I love that you say that. And as you were saying, it reminded me of, times that I've gone, well, even when we're traveling to like, Asia and to Thailand and even back in Mexico, some of these poor villages or poor areas, and you still see people pull out like iPhone 7, like iPhone X, and you're like, what the heck? Everyone. Yeah, like they might literally be wearing like, clothes that, super old raggedy clothes or whatever, and they still will have like their phone with like data plan. And you're like, how? Because people make time and find the money for the things they really want. So again, it's more about the right fit and bridging the gap than it is about whether they can afford it or not. It's like, I always tell people when they say, I can't afford it. I'm like, what can you, why can you not afford? Is it to spend more time in this situation that you're in that's been causing you all this pain, or the $3, $5, $10,000 that you're about to depart from?
And helping them realize, we'll get more into this later, but essentially helping them realize that they actually can't afford not to work with you.
Right. That's exactly
If it's a good fit and you can help them, they can't afford not to work with you.
Right. Exactly. Because it's literally the perfect bridge that will get them to the other side. And the other side is far, far more valuable than any money that you could even put, right? For what they want, or at least you want to seem that way.
Yeah, and we'll definitely, there's parts in the script that we'll show you later where we'll actually show you things that you can say to people who, say, I can't afford it. And helping them come to the epiphany of like, you know what, actually you can, it's a decision, and it's going to be a lot worse if you actually don't solve this problem now and you keep waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that. 7, misdiagnosis is malpractice, right? So imagine a doctor giving you a diagnosis.
It's powerful.
Yeah, before they ask about your symptoms. Okay, so imagine you walked in the doctor's office and, he says, okay, sit down. You sit down, they're like, okay.
Diabetes. And you're like, I haven't even.
Yeah.
I just have the sniffles. I'm not really sure if that's probably not diabetes.
They open their cabinet and they take a bunch of pills and they say, take this, that. And you're kind of like, you haven't tested me. You haven't taken my blood. You haven't asked me any questions.
You haven't asked me where it hurts.
Exactly. And it'll be crazy. Like no one would in the right mind, like,
would take advice.
We'll take that. Yet in sales, we do this all the time. We're like already saying like, oh, you need this. And it's like, how do you, like, someone I think pitched me the other day, just like called from like my messenger or something. And it was like, you haven't even identified my needs, right? Like go back to these 6 steps that I showed you, right? Like one of them is identifying the needs. If you don't know that, how can you be prescribing something? How can you be prepping a pill, prepping a medicine when you don't even know if I'm allergic to that medicine? You know what I mean?
It's malpractice and it's extremely unethical.
Yeah.
It's all about you. It's not about the person you're serving.
Yes.
You're giving them something they don't need, they don't want, and that may even make their problem worse.
Exactly. Sometimes it will make the problem worse. And so that's, something to watch out for. And remember that a well-stated problem is already 50% solved. Like, isn't that so true? Once you're finally able to articulate and you're like, yeah, you know what, I have fear of failure because 3 years ago I failed in this first venture and now I'm terrified to move forward. Boom. Like that's already 50% solved. You're like, okay, so how can we make sure that does not happen? How can we make sure that, it does not repeat again? All of a sudden it brings new hope, brings new ideas, and bam, you're like halfway
brings
there.
Clarity. Yeah. Clarity is a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It's powerful. 8, rejection is not real, okay? Fill your pipeline, take full responsibility, okay? Rejection is not real. And it's so funny because, for me, one of the main things that allow me to kind of see this point is actually nothing related to sale and everything related to like dating. Seriously, like when I met my beautiful wife, I had to kind of put that thought as far as I could about being rejected because I wanted to get to know her. I wanted to know her name. I wanted to talk to her. And I just went over and I, went right up to you and said, hey, do you want to dance? And then we started chatting. She said no, by the way.
I was going to say, you kind of got a little mini no, or maybe it's kind of, maybe it's a no.
Right, exactly.
It was a no at the time. But that didn't actually, obviously, now that we're married, it obviously didn't mean that I had no interest in it at all. I just was just unsure. I didn't have clarity on it.
She didn't have clarity, like, exactly.
And so it was good that instead of just, kind of throwing the towel in and being like,
right. Like,
all right,
okay,
walking
bye.
away.
So it could have happened. It would have changed everything.
You continue to talk to me, continue to ask questions, and that helped me gain clarity and confidence so that I could give a yes.
Exactly. Yeah. When she first said that, I was like handling objections. I'm like, I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, should I do this? Should I like wait around to, when you're ready? And so, really, when you think that rejection is real and you're like, almost like focusing on that, it's going to be so hard to get over when they say no. But the more no's you get, the more desensitized you become to the rejection, and you start realizing that it's just a numbers game. Now, the awesome thing here is that you will find the right fit, and sometimes it might start as a no, but you know what? The great salesmen say, I'd rather have a no sooner than later, because at least it's a no. I can address it. We can keep chatting and say, and flip it. Say something like, oh, okay, well, I understand it's a no for you, but what would make it a yes? So there's a new dialogue that kind of opens up. And even in my example with my wife, when I said, hey, do you want to dance? And she said, no, I'm a little bit tired, like maybe later. I said, okay, like how much later? and we kind of started like chatting, and then I just jumped and said, hey, like what's your name? And next thing you know, like she gave me her number and we kept in touch, and the rest is history. But that really is.
Here we are today.
But that really is a great example of rejection is not real, because even when people say no, there's nothing personal.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, right? It was nothing about you in this scenario, right? It was more about me.
You were like,
well, not really sure what I wanted to do, maybe a new situation. And so rejection is not about you. It's more of their own personal issues that are going on internally, right?
Exactly.
And whether it's sales or relationships, we never want to be in that gray area, right? It's always, it's never good when the intentions are not clear, right? Intentions need to be clear so that you can either move forward or just completely stop.
You got it.
Right? Gray areas are what we don't want. It's a yes or a no, and then move on from there.
You got it. 9. I love this one. It's so ingrained for me, from Grant Cardone. I read the book, recommend you to read it too. It's called Sell or Be Sold. And he tells you, and he talks about how you're always selling something. Like no matter if it's ideas or instructions as a parent, or, or products, programs, futures, like you're always selling something. And the reality is you're either selling it or you're being sold to it. You're in a conversation with someone and someone's telling you, oh, how much they can afford, oh, how much, all these different things. They're selling you on that idea that they can afford it, that they,
And right now we're selling you on the 10 sacred mindsets of selling.
Exactly. We're selling you on this.
We're selling you that this is true, right? And this is going to help you.
Exactly. And, when you see it this way, it's really like a complete mind shift, because you start realizing that every time that you show up in any kind of conversation with anyone around your life, there's always someone that's kind of like leading and has more certainty than the other, and then the other one that's kind of like being sold to. Like always in one dynamic. Maybe it'll start with you selling, then you'll actually end up being sold. Or, doesn't matter. The point is you're always exchanging information this way, and there's someone that is leading the conversation, or someone that is just following the conversation. No difference. Sell or be sold. So that's what I tell you today. 10, you are there to serve. You are there in that call to make someone feel heard, supported, loved, and understood. And again, we go back to 1, life supports life, love casts out all fear. And this is right in line with that, because you're there to serve. You can really embody that and envision that. You're there to really just like get clarity, like ask the right questions, guide them to an empowered decision, because sometimes people don't need your product. Sometimes people just need clarity, direction, and some of them already know what to do. And you shouldn't be saying, oh crap, like I spent all this time, I gave all this, but you don't know if tomorrow then they'll buy from you again. You don't know
Exactly.
if
They
they're
may
going to
not
be
be
your
in,
biggest advocate.
exactly. They may not be ready right now, but maybe they'll be ready in a month.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be ready in 2 months, in 6 months. Or, as you said, maybe
never.
they know someone else who they may not be a good fit, but my friend actually over here is.
Yeah.
This is actually what she needs.
Yes, exactly.
So it never goes to waste.
It never
Lending
goes to
someone
waste.
an ear, giving someone love and support, and helping them feel understood, that never goes to waste.
Yeah, exactly. And most people can't even really tell the difference between being heard and being loved, because like for them, sometimes it's like one in the same of just being able to voice over their opinion, to voice over how they really feel. Remember, a lot of these people in a lot of these calls, no one has asked them some of these questions or not in a long time. So imagine how amazing it can be if they walk away from that call. Let's say they didn't even buy anything, but they walk away and they say to their brother, sister, mother, father, wow, like I was feeling so confused. I jumped in the car with this guy. Amazing. Didn't really buy anything, because it seemed like I already had everything I needed, but I feel like a new man. I feel so confident about what I'm going to do and why I need to do it. And he gave me so much, clarity and direction on this. And next thing you know, he is your biggest advocate and you've made like a fan for life, even if he didn't buy anything. So just remember that. And again, I'm talking to the choir here because sometimes I don't apply this, and sometimes I show up with only 1 or 2 of these mind shifts, and then
we need to remind ourselves daily.
Yeah, literally print this over. Like I have spent a long time putting this thing together from different sources, like the very best of the best, and I think it'll really help you as well.
Right. And so this just kind of goes back to the misdiagnosis is malpractice. And so when I was reading that over, I immediately thought of the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason being that this is one of the oldest binding documents in history. Right. Doctors today still go by this oath. And this oath was written by Hippocrates, who is a Greek physician considered to be one of the most outstanding figures in the history of medicine. And it is still held sacred, much like the 10 sacred minds you're talking about, by physicians today. And so the main goal of this oath, so when anyone becomes a physician and they're working with patients in their care, they have taken a vow to treat the ill to the best of their ability, to preserve their patients' privacy, and to teach the secrets of medicine to the next generation, right? And so this line here is just a very small part of the Hippocratic Oath. I will apply dietetic measures for the benefit of the sick according to my ability and judgment, and I will keep them from harm and injustice.
I love that.
Right. And so when you look at your,
for the benefit,
your oath, like you are taking a very similar oath to the Hippocratic Oath. Whenever you are getting on the phone with someone,
exactly,
you are saying, I am going to the best of my judgment and ability, try and diagnose what their problem is, right? What the issues are. And I vow to never harm them and cause any injustice to them.
Right.
And so this goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Selling something that you know is not going to help them is injustice,
right?
And that could harm them. And simultaneously, if you know it's going to help them,
right,
not selling it to them
exactly,
is also injustice and harming them.
Exactly. Sometimes you're like, oh, afraid because, to say it or to pitch or whatever, but it's like, see it the other way around too. You need to be the one taking this commitment, taking this oath and being like, man, like my product is going to get them to the other side. Like they must get it. I must get it into their hands. And there needs to be that urgency because again, it's not about your product. We'd already talked about that, but it's about getting them to that other side, to that top of the mountain.
Exactly. So this really powerful to remember is think of it as if you are walking into a surgery room and someone's life is in your hands. When you treat it like that, you don't feel like this little, sleazy salesperson or like they have the power over you. Whereas if they're controlling the game and you're kind of just begging them for money, that's not how this dynamic should work. Right? You are a doctor. You are there to prescribe, diagnose, and if it's a good fit, it is your moral obligation to give them justice and benefit them. So that's really the message you want to get from here. Yeah,
I love it. All right, let's talk about some false beliefs about sales because, when we are carrying these beliefs with us, these stories with us, sometimes it's really hard to put in the action,
Definitely. So false belief number 1. So many people think that, they're just some people that are born salesmen.
Right.
right? They're just born knowing how to do it. And some people, they will never, ever be good at it. And we want you to know this is definitely not true.
Mm-hmm.
Good salesmen are not born. They are made.
They're made.
Nobody is born a salesman. Okay. And so being a good salesperson is just like anything else, right? Practice makes perfect. Doing something over and over and over and over again, that is what it makes improvement, right? No one is just born an amazing violinist. No one's born an amazing basketball player.
It's a skill.
You can have some talent. Like you may have some talent.
Yes, you may have some
but
talent.
You're
still
not
need to
going
work
to
on
be
it.
Exactly. You're not going to be incredible. You're going to be outstanding. And so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the personality type is. If you're more outgoing, it doesn't matter. It's something that you have to practice at over and over and over again. And then that will make perfect.
Yeah. I love that you said the violinist, because I thought in my mind, no one is born knowing how to read music.
Right.
Like you might be so talented that like even when you just grab it, you already almost like know what to do, and you're almost like innate, but you still don't know how to read it. You still don't know what notes there are. You still need to learn it. And so it's the same thing with sales.
Exactly.
You might have some people's skills, but having people's skills and becoming a salesman are different things.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just want you to know, if you feel like, this is not for me, I'm not born for this. It's not true.
It's not true. You can. The question is how bad do you want it? Just like anything.
Right. And this leads into the second one, which a lot of people believe, false belief number 2, is that salesmen are extroverted.
Or they need to be extroverted.
Right. They have to be extremely outgoing, really high really high energy types, sorry. But they're smooth talkers, they're really good with words. Right. And again, this is not true. Are there salesmen that are extroverted personality types?
Yes.
Of course. But that is not a prerequisite to being a good salesperson. And so some of the world's best salesmen are actually introverts. So have you ever heard of Sam Ovens? He is probably, in the 16 personality types, what do you think he would be? And maybe an INTJ, right? He's very introverted, very naturally introverted person. And I can relate a lot to that because I'm definitely an introvert as well.
Yeah.
And so not a person that necessarily wants to be around people all day long, doesn't have, 50 friends, has, like 3 close friends. Right. And I can definitely relate to that. And so if he is one of the top salesmen of the current day, he has mastered this art and science behind it, and he is extremely introverted, it's very likely that you are probably more extroverted than he is. Right. And so it doesn't have to do with your personality type, it doesn't have to do with how outgoing you are. It's about the desire behind it, about the ability to help people and really diagnose what their problem is and serve them to the highest degree. That's really what it's about.
Exactly.
False belief number 3, that sales is aggressive. And again, I hate this one. I truly hate the image of the person that is constantly in your face asking you, do you want to try this? Do you want to hear that? And you're like, I don't even have clarity on what I want. Please just give me a moment. Right? That happens to me. I feel that way in stores sometimes.
Yeah.
I walk in and people walk up to me in 30 seconds.
Like, what do you want? You're like, whoa, I just literally just got here.
I'm just strolling through. If I want help, I will come over. Right. And we'll get more into that later, why people should be pre-framed so that they already have a little bit of a desire to come up to you first. But yes, sales does not need to be aggressive. This is not true. It does not need to entail extremely high energy, fast-paced speech, and over-aggressiveness. And so, in fact, Chris Voss, and he is one of the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiators. Yeah. He has actually proven in his book.
Yeah. Never split the difference. Yeah, you should check it out.
Proves that
I'll dive into it a little bit later.
Exactly. Proves that a calm and collected voice is actually far more effective and persuasive than a really, loud and boisterous and aggressive type of speech.
Yeah.
Right? No one really likes that. No one likes someone being in their face, telling them what to do before you have even heard them out and listened to them. Right? So it doesn't need to be this way. And so this is what you're dreading. If you're like, I can't do sales, it's so aggressive, my personality is much more passive, I'm more introverted, then don't worry. That's a sham. It's not like that. Are there people out there? Yes, but that's not the kind of salesmanship that we promote in the Authentic Authority. That is complete opposite. So do not worry, that's a false belief. False belief number 4, that sales is about chasing people, right? So it kind of goes back to the really hyper aggressiveness, that someone's just always on you consistently, bugging you and nagging you for an answer. And no, it's not true. And the reason for that is that sales is not about constantly and persistently chasing people over and over again and hounding them down.
Mm-hmm.
It's about closing on the very first call, right? So remember we said before, it's not about all these maybes. It's a yes or a no. Are we proceeding or are we not proceeding?
Right.
And so the goal is not to be like, okay, let me follow up with you next week. And then again the other week, and then again the other week. No. And they should be pre-framed by your marketing so that it does the positioning before the call, right? So already when they get on the call, they already have an idea of who you are and what you do, right? They already have a feeling that this may be a good fit for me,
right,
for what I need. They still need more clarity from you, but they're already pre-framed. There's not a complete stranger.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And so the goal is to close on the first call, not on the second, third, fourth, fifth. Those should be non-existent.
Yeah. With everything we're telling you, like it should all go down on that first call, and it should be clear whether it's a yes or a no. Sometimes there'll be a one call with a very specific reason on a specific date because they need to check on something or do something in which we'll get there as well.
Right.
And in the script, you actually establish like, okay, so when are we going? Okay, so tomorrow at 12, right? Like, yes, there, like
but
that happens, but it's rare.
Finite, specific, and that's the exception.
Yeah,
It's not.
You should not be aiming for that.
It's not the norm. It's the exception.
You got it.
Right. And so in order to become a master salesman, you need to decide to become a master salesman.
Right.
Right. It really comes down to that decision. It's not about, I'm an introvert, I'm really quiet, I'm more passive. That's okay. Mm-hmm. No one's asking you to be anything that you're not.
Exactly.
And I think that's what a lot of us come into this. I know I did, believing that I needed to be someone that I wasn't in order to sell people on something, on what I did. And it's not true. And I hope that that's a relief to you, because I feel like that was to me a big one. I didn't want to be inauthentic. I didn't want to do something that didn't resonate with my values and who I truly was. And so it's really just about becoming a master salesman to what that means to you, right? To who you are and what your personality is. And then you want to decide to work on your mindset. So again, just because we're all different doesn't mean that you don't need to understand the basic mind shifts, right, that we talked about. But that makes it easier. Once you know that you are there to serve, you're trying to hear them out, you're trying to diagnose, you're not just trying to throw a random product that they don't need, then that does take a lot of pressure off you as well. And so the mindsets are something that also must be mastered, and that's a decision. You must vow to keep studying sales, influence, and persuasion. And so again, for all the best reasons, right? We don't want you to influence and persuade people that aren't a good fit. And for, questionable reasons, we want you to learn that these skills are extremely powerful when they're used for the right purposes.
Yeah.
Right. And then we want you to record your calls and take notes on how to improve against the baseline and principles of this lesson. And so again, just reminding you that, they're not born. Good salesmen are not born. They are made. Mm-hmm. And so this takes practice over and over and over again to learn from your mistakes. Recording it helps you listen to where you may have gone wrong, what you could have said, what did go well. It just gives you a very good overlook of what you can improve on, right? And that's really what this does. Exactly. It's a process.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so understanding your client's primary needs. And we talked about the 6 core needs, the Tony Robbins 6 core human needs: certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. But we're going to dive deeper in the next slide, because really there's only very specific reasons and 12 specifically we're going to look at reasons of why they buy. And so the faster you can spot this on the call, or even before your call through your application, the easier it would be for you to guide the call, because the real motivator. Sometimes people say they want something, but what they're really saying is, I want certainty. Or they're saying, I want, they might be saying, for example, I just want more freedom. I want to travel the world. They really just want variety. Right. They're craving to go out.
I want to buy my dream home with my family. What they're saying is, I want certainty.
Right. Exactly.
I want love and connection and certainty.
Exactly.
That's what a home for me represents.
Yeah. And so people are not driven by any of the purple ones. They're actually driven by contribution. They're like, you know what, for me, the biggest thing is to know that I am contributing like so much to change this one cause that I'm so passionate about. It's doing, it's kids education, sign me on. Right. And so going,
promise.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's dive deeper into how that looks like.
Okay, and so it's really about identifying which of these 12 needs is your client most motivated by. Okay, so we'll go through these. So number one, money.
Right.
Is it genuinely just a real need for money?
Yeah.
Right? Are they
some people are just driven by that?
Or are they unable at this moment in their life to really pay the bills?
Right.
Right? Is it like there's no way around it. We need money to pay the bills. And so that's the main motivator at this point.
Craving that certainty, but specifically related to money. And there's people that are like, greedy, and they're actually wanting just like, sometimes you might even ask them, why do you want more money? You already have all the money you need. And they're like, well, I just want more.
Right. And
you know what I mean?
So it's good to keep in mind that when you discover what those motivations are below, these external needs that they, whether it's a house or traveling, when you've identified what these 12 internal needs are, you can also then decide if it's a good fit. Right? Because if you're like, well, this person only cares about money.
Yeah, it's like they've said that 100 times through the call.
Right, and that is not who I want to serve, then you can also say no.
Right. Exactly.
Right, so it's just, but you need to uncover what that truth behind it really is. Yeah. Right? Yeah, so as I said, number 2, security. Are they just motivated by feeling safe?
Right.
Right, I want to know that all my needs are constantly met. And that's really what is motivating me. I want to feel like I know what's coming.
I want to secure my kid's future. I want to secure my, home, my investment, like security.
Exactly. Number 3, is their motivation being liked and feeling part of a group? Right. So community. Is community a really important thing in their life? They feel like they have to be part of a group. They have to be accepted.
Right.
Right. Number 4, status and prestige. Right. So do they really care about seeing themselves in a certain light, or others seeing them in a certain status or light? Right. I think I would say that, celebrities would probably be very motivated by status and prestige, right? How the world views them.
Right.
Number 5, health and fitness. Right. So is your health, whether it's your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your emotional health, is that something that you realize is really suffering right now? And that is the main motivation for getting to that next level.
Yes, sometimes people want to take their business to the next level, not really because of the business itself, but because they realize that they've been very irresponsible with their exercise, with their health, with their nutrition, etc. And they're starting to feel back pain, or there's higher complications, like more stakes here. And of course, like in their minds, that's all that really matters. Because if you don't have health, like what good is to have anything at that point, right?
Yeah. Number 6, praise and recognition. So again, we're not saying that all of these are good motivations, but getting to the bottom of them is very important, right? So praise and recognition. Do they really want people to just, thank them and praise them for the work they have done, right? Regardless of what kind of service they offer. Number 7, power, influence, and popularity. Okay, so similar to status and prestige, wanting to influence others and be viewed as, liked and have a high status, be popular in the minds of people.
It's interesting because a big difference between 4 and 7 is that status and prestige is more about how like they're being perceived, and with a certain image. 7 is actually having the power. It's actually having the influence, whether or not you have the status. Right? Yeah, like it comes with it, but someone can have power and not really be seen and have like very little prestige. Right? Someone would just be like power hungry. They're like, man, like I just want more power. I want to be able to do whatever I want when I click my fingers, even if I'm not being recognized.
Right. It's what that power really goes towards. If you want to have power and influence because, you just want to be, better than other people, you want to be seen, that's one thing. Or you want to use it for evil things. But if you want to have power and influence because you're like, I want to spread awareness about this endangered species.
Right.
Well, then that's a beautiful thing. And to have an audience and popularity is great because now people actually care about what you have to say and they're going to believe what you're saying and maybe donate to this cause or help spread awareness as well. Right. Number 8, leading the field and being an innovator. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs are led by this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they just want to be
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just being like a person that brings like massive change or that brings something fresh that no one has seen before. And this can be a double-edged sword, because I think I've been driven by that sometimes, and I want to reinvent the wheel. I want to be original, and then I worry so much about being original that
I did that
shoots you
with
in the
teaching.
field. Yeah,
I did that with teaching in the beginning. Like I've told you, you know, at the beginning, you're trying to learn how long a lesson should be, right? How much these kids can really soak up in one lesson.
Exactly.
Similar to teaching this, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time, especially in the beginning, I was really trying to make my lessons so detailed and so unique and not take anything from anyone else. But trying to reinvent the wheel every single time got extremely exhausting, and you need help from other people, right? Trying to be really different all the time can also be exhausting. And it can also lead to ego if you're not careful. So you got to make sure the motivations are for reasons that are going to serve you.
Yeah, exactly.
And number 9, love and companionship. This is definitely a big one. Where a lot of people are motivated by love and companionship, by relationships with other people, or just feeling affection.
Yeah, love, right? Feeling, yeah, exactly. Yeah, by others, by their mom, by their spouse, by their, relatives.
And if it's for good reasons, great. If those relationships are healthy, wonderful. But a lot of the times it also motivates us to stay in relationships and circumstances where it's not a true love.
Yeah.
Right? It's more of just codependency. Yeah. And so we need to be careful.
Exactly.
If it's true love and true companionship, or just a codependent kind of behavior.
Yeah, ask yourself that. Mm-hmm.
Number 10, personal growth. I think we're definitely motivated by this one.
Yeah.
Constantly trying to better ourselves, become better people, become more skilled, become more knowledgeable.
Reach your potential, reach a higher potential, full potential, try to learn more and become more, right? It's that sense of I just want to keep growing. People can be addicted sometimes to personal development, and again, while that's a good thing, you can also become something where it's too self-centered, and that could also tip the scale in the wrong way. But nonetheless, a very key need that a lot of people are driven by.
Right. Number 11, contribution and legacy. Again, another big one. If you have a certain cause that you truly love in your life, whether let's say it's for animals, or it's for children, or it's for a certain disease that has affected you or your family member.
Yeah, exactly.
Then contribution may be a huge part of your life, right? You may have a calling to serve a cause and really gain awareness, get financial resources, whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. I know I'm very motivated by this as well when it comes to animals and kids. And so, yeah, again, we want to ask you, which ones do you feel like you're most motivated by, and then clarify what you believe your ideal avatar is most motivated by, right? Exactly. So you can really get behind those needs. And last but not least, number 12, personal transformation, right? So becoming the new self, right? Going from the old self to the new self, and constantly having positive transformations within yourself, right? Yeah. And so, as we said, again, really ask yourself what motivates you most about why you're in business, whatever your service or product may be. And then also really trying to clarify your ideal avatar. You're going to get a bunch of different people, hopefully as you go through the Authentic Authority, you'll learn to attract the people that are motivated by the right things, the things that you want your ideal client to be motivated by. Yeah. Right. And so as an example for us, we really want to attract people to the Authentic Authority who are really motivated by contribution. Yeah. They are really motivated by personal transformation.
That's why the whole impact formula.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they understand the bigger cause, the bigger need, and they want to, they want their impact to go beyond themselves.
Right. They want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. Right. It's going to last, and not because it gives them status or prestige, but because it is genuinely helping the world become a better place.
Right.
Right. And so we know that our ideal avatar. So if you're watching this, you are probably highly motivated by 11, 10, 12, and even 7. You want to use your power and influence. You want to gain that, right, so you can use it for a better good.
Yeah. And of course, no one is saying not, look for the money, the security, the health. Of course, those things are important, but there's always going to be a leading one for you.
Exactly. You're going to have a certain order of how these go for the last 12.
and same with this, right? So like compare this with this. Sometimes you can go in here and get like the top value, like, higher level, and then say, okay, I know it's certainty, but as it relates to what? Okay, well, it's certainty in their health and fitness. Boom, now you know. And you have like so much like grounding when it comes to your clients' motivators. Right. So I hope that makes sense. Again, this is a really key list. Like a lot of these slides, you want to be able to take a screenshot of them, memorize them, and be asking yourself some of these questions so that you understand who you're talking to on the other side of the phone. All right, Tools of Titans. I love this little gun. I geek out with Men in Black, and I'm also sometimes laughing at the cats when they stand in two legs and they look like those little aliens of Men in Black or whatever.
Especially Lily.
It's amazing. But I chose this because the things I'm about to show you are things that seem small, but they can cause a huge damage, a huge impact, right? Just like this little gun. I remember in the movie, and you might remember it too, when he first grabs it, he goes like, what the heck? Like he almost felt like belittled that he got this gun. All of a sudden he fires it, and it's like the strongest thing in the world. And it just changed everything. So let's take a look. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick overview. Tools of Titans, 7 of them. Number 1, your voice/tone, super, super key. 2, tactical empathy. 3, mirrors. 4, labels. 5, active listening. 6, the power of silence. And 7, calibrated questions. And once again, just to give you some background, these are some tactics learned from Chris Voss. His book, you should definitely get it if you want to like dive even deeper. Never Split the Difference. So this guy is the dude that they would call in the middle of like a really tense situation where literally like clock is ticking, like the kidnapper or the person that has taken this subject is literally just counting every single second and demanding money, demanding a bunch of things. And imagine getting on the phone with someone like that on the other line. Imagine the pressure that like literally what you say over
could be life or death.
Could be life or death. If you say something wrong and you piss the guy off on the other side, boom, shoots the person. Can you imagine the responsibility and the level of like technique, tone, and I'm gonna break them down. But this is why it's so important, because these things not only will serve you in sales, but it will serve you in every single conversation, because these things are just tactics that help you communicate. These are communication techniques being delivered by a FBI top. He wasn't not even just like a junior guy. No, he was the top guy, the one you would call for like national like crisis happening. They have like the daughter of the president or something on the other side, and literally what you say here, it probably be the opposite actually. Like he probably will not be yelling like that, but he probably be really calm and collected actually, but very angry inside, of course. But let's look at these techniques. Number 1, voice and tone. Okay, before I dive into it, I just want to say how we communicate in reality follows this rule right here. 7% of your communication is words. Only 7%.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
I heard that.
38% is tone. So sometimes you can say something that it's like kind of weird or whatever, but because you said it in a certain tone, now it became funny, or now it became acceptable.
Well, we do it all the time.
We do it all the time.
Sarcasm is a prime example.
Yes.
Like, oh, great.
Right.
Well, I'm saying it's great, and that usually means something is good, but my tone is clearly not saying that. Right. My tone is blatantly telling you I'm not looking forward to that. Yeah. Oh, here we go again. I'm annoyed. Mm-hmm. Right.
Exactly.
So we do it all the time. Tone is huge.
Yeah. If you say like, could you give me some water versus could you give me some water versus could you give me some water, right? Like it changes everything. Like all of a sudden it's like a whole different energy, a whole different communication. Right.
So we don't notice it as much as humans, but animals.
Ooh, animals know this so well.
Animals may not understand obviously every word that you're saying, but you could say the nicest thing, but if your tone is very harsh, your dog or your cat's going to know that you're upset. Right. If you say it in a very high-pitched, hi, then they know. Right. Right. They've done something good. They're going to start purring. They're going to come over you. Dog's going to wag his tail. Right. So tone is huge with our pets. Yeah. We see it with animals a lot.
Exactly. And then 55% of that is body language. Of course, when you're in video or when you are in person, of course, you can utilize the body language, but when not, most of the time when having some of these calls and some of these conversations with your customers, it's going to be mostly the tone that you want to be watching out. And if you nail the tone, believe me, it's going to make a huge difference in your sales game. So Chris Voss over here tells you that there's 3 types of voices that he uses in doing this. The first one is what he calls the late night FM DJ voice, which is like this, like, hi, thank you for tuning in to this. It's very assertive. It's very calm. And again, you inflect your voice in a downwards way. When you do it in an upwards way, you're suggesting an option or a question. Right? Did you see that intonation that I just used? But you can use it selectively to make a point. But nonetheless, always keeping that like, hi, you're listening to the late night FM, right? And again, you don't have to like fake it like that. But my point is having a calm, downward, a little bit deeper voice, a little bit calmer, like, in the lower frequencies versus the really, up here, nasal, right? Very different. Very different.
It puts people in a different state,
yes.
Right? When your voice is extremely loud or aggressive or even high pitched, that could agitate people.
Right.
A very cool, calm, and collected voice that relaxes people, makes them feel more at ease.
Yeah.
And obviously, we want that in a sales call. Right? We want both parties to feel very relaxed at ease.
Exactly. And I think we've all faced or we've all come across someone that had like a super high pitched voice. I was like, hey, I want to do this. Like it almost like irritates you before you even know the person. Just the tone alone sometimes will do that for you.
Right.
Number 2, the positive and playful voice. This voice should be the default voice. Check this out. Attitude is light and encouraging. The key is smile. It's kind of like, yes, like tell me more about that. Okay, good. And then switching it with the late night FM to ask questions. So let's say that you're asking your customer what they want to achieve in the next 90 days or 12 months. So you could say something along the lines of like, so tell me, with this like lower inflection voice, so tell me, what would you like to achieve in the next 12 months? And then when they answer, you're like, you can now switch back to the positive and playful one and say, yes, that's a great vision. I would love to know more. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And you kind of have this like really warm behind you. And the key is smiling. Like if you start kind of smiling, just kind of like as I'm doing right now, you can even see it and feel it in my tone because it will come through. It's so interesting how your attitude and your state of mind will really reflect and come in nuances in your tone.
Right. Well, you're changing your body language.
You're changing your body language too.
Affect the tone.
Exactly. So again, these are techniques that FBI top negotiators use to control the conversation. Because imagine on the other line, you have someone that's like agitated with incoherent waves like we talked about, in pain, in vagueness and all these different things. And if it's a negotiator, they're demanding, they're stressed, they're sweating, they got someone tied up over there, they're feeling bad, they're having second thoughts. And then on the other line, you have like, hey, how can we make this happen? All of a sudden, it brings the whole thing down. And even the person starts feeling comfortable with you, not really knowing why. It's all just the tone. And number 3 is a direct and assertive voice. This is the one where you kind of take the lead and you say, listen to me. I have something specific to tell, like this very like masculine, very pa, 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 pa. This one you should use rarely. This is really more when you want to emphasize, drive a point home. It needs to be a specific situation where, it's just time to take the lead. But in general, you want to keep it between 1 and 2. Those are the main ones that you'll be using. All right. 2, tactical empathy. Tactical empathy is understanding the feelings and mindset of another in any given moment. We talked about the epiphanies of empathy, right? Mm-hmm. On our message lesson. Again, this kind of piggybacks off that, but I love that it's tactical because it allows you to use it in key times throughout your call. It's also about hearing what is behind those feelings. We talked about the motivations, and that's why we put it first, because if you can spot that, then when you hear this and you apply this tactical empathy, you'll be able to understand and increase your influence in the moment that follows that. Okay. Tactical empathy is bringing our attention to both the emotional obstacles and the potential pathways to getting an agreement done. So you're always kind of calibrate. You're always kind of switching from like, okay, these are the obstacles. I understand kind of where you're coming from. You're deploying empathy, but also with this potential, with this hope, with these dreams, with these futures that you're trying to paint, and you're kind of navigating this, between the masculine and the feminine energy. Very, very interesting, because the human psychology acts at two levels. Number one, the presenting behavior. You might see someone that's talking a certain way, that is doing something, but in reality, number two, there's underlying feelings that are motivating that behavior. All of us, no one does something just because, with no reason. No, we are people that require meaning, that require emotions to do things. And sometimes you might not even know what emotion you're in yourself, which often happens. It just feels like a whirlwind, but nonetheless, your emotions are driving that behavior. And if you can understand that, you can understand that in your calls, believe me, your prospect, the person on the other side of the phone is going to feel so connected to you, no different than this. They'll be able to really just feel almost like understood, even though they know deep inside that the FBI guy wants to catch him. But still, like, a lot of the times that they'll get that trust, and they'll say, you know what, okay, here's the person, I'll release them, yada yada yada.
It's like they're getting to the bottom of
why
they're taking
they're
someone
there.
hostage.
Exactly.
No one takes someone hostage just for no reason.
Exactly.
They're trying to get something out of it.
Right. And sometimes they will say, oh yeah, well, it's money or it's this, but it's not even that. And sometimes it's a deeper one. And this, guy, Chris, he tells his experience in multiple occasions. Like it's a really awesome book. You should really get it. And he talks how there would be times where he would go so deep with this people, with this, what's the right term? Hostages, robbers, kidnappers. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll go with kidnappers.
Yeah, we'll go with kidnappers. And they will begin to trust them with these techniques. And they will say, yeah, you know what? Like, they would even break down and even open up with them and be like, yeah, you know what? It's been tough for me. My kid got sick. And so, like, I didn't really want any of this to occur. And then the other guy's on the phone saying, like, don't worry. We can make this happen. Just release them. Everything will gonna be okay. We're gonna work this out together. Next thing you know, they're letting them go, and they bond that even though he knows it's an FBI that wants to catch him. How is it that it overrid that with the tone, with mirrors, with some of these techniques that we're telling you? It's so powerful. So 3, mirrors. Mirrors are very useful to clarify and expand on a particular train of thought you want them to unpack. Okay, I'm going to give you an example in a second. Mirrors insinuate similarity, which facilitates bonding. You catch that? Insinuate similarity, which facilitate bonding. They're also called connectors because they help your customer connect thoughts. So how do you do it? How do mirrors look like? Simply repeat the last or critical 3 to 4 words of what someone else has said last. So as an example, let's say that the person says, well, you just ask them something and they say, I'm not sure how to grow my business to the next level. And then you say, I'm sorry, the next level? That's it. That's a mirror right there. And you didn't really say anything other than just say, I'm sorry. And then those 3 to 4 words. The next level? And then they'll say, yeah, okay. And they'll expand on that. They'll unpack on that. And in that, literally, that small little process, it facilitates bonding because it feels like you are really caring for them. By you saying that, like, what do you mean? It's almost like you're saying, what do you mean by that? But without being aggressive. Because sometimes in a conversation that becomes heated, it can be like, I don't understand. Tell them more about that. It can be a little bit aggressive. But if you say, I'm sorry, blank, and you just use their own words, very powerful to use their own words.
Feel like they are, I guess, not being understood.
Yeah, or they're like dumb, or they don't know the answers.
Right. So you want to ask for clarification
in a very smooth way.
In
and this
a
is how.
Way.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And this is how. So the mirror process, I put it here. Of course, use the late night FM voice. I'm sorry, the next level? Start sentence with I'm sorry. Why? Because you want to make it feel like you are the one that needs that further clarification. You don't want to make them feel like, oh, they're not smart, like, oh, they don't know what they're saying. Like, you do not want that. You want them to feel like, it's just so understood, and that you're so like hungry to like find out more about their thoughts. And like, no, like, who doesn't love that? You know what I mean? Then you throw your mirror, I'm sorry, blank, the 3 or 4 words that someone else has said, and you keep silence. That's it. It's very small, like that little gun, but it's so powerful. So, we can be having this conversation and I'll say something like, even just within this slide, I'll say, very useful to clarify and expand on a particular train of thought. You could say, I'm sorry, train of thought? Yeah, what I mean by that is da-da-da-da, right? And so you go into the next one. Okay, so how do you apply mirrors? Here are some other ways that you can apply it. 5 different areas you can apply mirror to increase rapport, listening, and observing. Of course, the speech pattern. So that is, basically the example I just showed you, the specific words they're using. We can also do it with their body language. If they're crossing their arms, you cross their arms. If they put their hands on their waist, you can do that. And sometimes it's unconscious.
We do this. Yeah, we do this all the time, right?
We do this all right.
Where was it that we saw some kind of an experiment where they were at a table together with a glass of water.
Yes.
And every time they would pick up the glass of water, the person unconsciously across from them would pick up
exactly, yeah.
And we do it all the time.
Exactly. And that actually increases rapport. It's so interesting because, we tend to attract like-minded, like the law of reciprocity, life supports that which supports life, right? It goes back to really like mimicking this, but not in an obvious way that's like annoying, like that you're like copying. Like I'm talking about like very, very subtle.
Not like when your sibling tries to annoy you and just copies everything you said and do.
The vocabulary, of course, tempo, and tone of voice. And again, this is the little cues, little things, I'm talking about more advanced things here. I obviously don't have my mind like thinking of all these different things, but even if you only did this one, which is the one I wanted to show you, it's really key. And then of course you can use it in other things as well. All right, labels. Labels are used to validate emotion by acknowledging it and letting them feel it. This is so key. Labels are so amazing because it anchors them deeper into those elevated emotions and having them talk and unpack their emotions, right? So let's just say that someone just told you, that they've been struggling to grow their business, that they're a little bit frustrated, or they're, frustrated with their marriage, frustrated with whatever it is. And you can just say, it seems like you feel uncertain.
It seems like you feel really overwhelmed.
Seems like you feel really overwhelmed, right? And so by you just literally clarifying it and vocalizing it very, concrete, it allows them to feel understood, and it allows them to feel it themselves, because then when you come back to that question, they say, oh man, yeah, and they just go deeper a little bit and they want to unpack it for you. It sounds like your family is important to you. Ooh, yeah, now that you mentioned that, or it seems like you're reluctant to do diet or to change this or that in your life. Yeah, and again, it just allows them to, in a very non-threatening way, to clarify their emotions, because you just did them so they feel understood. And number 2, they feel validated and they want to unpack it and talk deeper into it, increasing the rapport, increasing the connection, and of course leading you towards that close. It seems like you value this very much in your life. It seems, and again, you don't want to make it seem like, oh, you're this, right? No, wrong. It seems, it sounds, it looks like. Why? Because you're also allowing some, doubt.
There's
room for error that you might not have said the right thing. And sometimes you can use labels actually in your own advantage, and you might even apply intentionally a wrong label just so that they clarify. So someone might say, oh, I feel, really stressed. And you might say something like, it seems like you have maybe everything under control. They're like, no, actually the opposite of that. And again, you do it intentionally, but labels are so key, again, to validate, acknowledge, and have them unpack that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And what seems kind of like you were saying, it's a lot less threatening, right? Because you're saying, this is what I've heard you say.
Right.
And this is what it seems to me, at least,
Right.
that you're saying, as opposed to just saying, you know, you're overwhelmed.
Right.
You're overworked. And they may, you know, because the emotion is high at this point, that you don't want them to get, I guess, offended if they feel like you said something, labeled them wrongly.
Yeah.
Right. And so it gives room for error where they can correct if there is an error.
Right.
And also feel like, you know, you're not blatantly just telling them and labeling them something that's not true.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just see right there with like mirrors and labels how powerful you can carry a conversation where you're just really diving deeper into what they feel, why they feel, and all these different things without you having to ask many questions or telling them like, oh, no, you know what you need is this because of this and that. Like, no, like don't do that. Don't do that. And again, we're going to go through the script, but it seems like you might feel this. It seems like this is happening to you. And then once they say, you're like, I'm sorry, blank, you throw a mirror, right? And so doing this become tools in your daily vocabulary, your daily, you know, interactions that will allow you to, you know, take your conversation and communication to the next level. 5, active listening. Make your focus to apply active listening. Begin with listening and mirrors, as we talked about. Validate their emotions with labels and repeat what they said for further clarification, okay? Again, this is the active listening. It's like you're listening so much because you know you're going to do a label or you're going to do a mirror. So you want to pay attention and not be on your phone or be thinking of something else or the worst, thinking of what's the next thing you're going to say or the next question before you just even finish because he might be telling you the very cues and the very clues that you need to hear. But active listening. Slow down the process. Use the late night FM DJ voice. Deep, soft, slow, reassuring tone. Number 3, grasp what the other person is feeling. Go from distrusting to trusting, from nervous to calm. Help them make that transition. Right. That is listening right there.
And listening is so key. Honestly, again, if we're going back to a lot of the assumptions that we have about sales, which are, again, being really high energy, super extroverted, really aggressive, you'll actually see from our script, from the sales script, that it's probably about 80% listening.
Exactly.
You're listening to the prospect for about 80% of the time, and only about 20% are you actually talking to them, right? For most of it, they're the one talking.
Yeah.
Right. And so you need to become a good listener. And I know when we think of sales, we often don't think about that. We're the one that's talking the whole time. We're trying to sell them on something.
Yeah,
we're trying to believe our ideas. And no, you're diagnosing. Right. And so as a doctor, as someone who's meant to prescribe, you are sitting there in the chair asking them questions and listening to what it is they have to say.
You got it.
And then you can give your 2 cents once you get a big picture.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. 6, the power of silence. Of course, there is a time to speak, a time to ask questions, labels, mirrors, but there's also a time for silence. So when you ask a question, shut up. This is a mistake that sometimes I even do myself. I ask multiple questions at once instead of just asking one question, simple, concrete, and then quieting. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable with silence, and I feel I didn't ask the question correctly. Just shut up. Let people finish their muddled sentences and never speak over them. Sometimes, you might be so carried on it and they're talking, you want to jump right ahead and be like, yeah, I totally get it. Like, don't interrupt.
Or
let them
finishing their sentence for them.
Right.
Because sometimes we can hear them struggling to get their words together.
Yeah, so we want to help them and we feel like it's going to be awkward if we just let them speak. Don't. Resist the temptation. Again, big no-no. Number 3, silence allows you to think while they speak, giving you essential clues as to where their train of thought is leading. And then you can use this as ammunition. As we said, they might be really telling you, not even sometimes the words they're saying, but in their tone. You might detect, you're like, man, they're scared. Or man, they're so uncertain, or they're hurting on this and that. And you're just listening. Just silence. 4, silence will also get your prospects to worry that their answers are not good enough and that you might not take them up as a client. It flips the power dynamic from them to you, resulting in them being the needy or troubled ones. Okay, and this one's kind of interesting. I learned this from Sam Ovens, and I thought it was really good to put it here because the silence will sometimes get them to second guess or like really think deeper about their answers, because you're just like sitting in silence, and sometimes the silence might make them feel like, oh, is that not good enough, or should I have said this, should I have said that? And again, it's not in a malicious way at all. It's in a way that you're just letting them sit in that answer.
Right, because a lot of the times we answer on autopilot.
Yeah.
Right, we give someone the cookie cutter response.
Yeah. How are you? Good.
You think they want to hear. And giving them that, the stage to really give an honest answer will help them really identify, no, what really is the answer to this? What do I actually want to say here? Not just what I think they're expecting, right? And so this power dynamic is for, again, only the most ethical and honest reasons, right? You're not doing it to make them feel uncomfortable so that you can make them feel awkward and make them needy and beg you. No, it's to get them to realize that they actually need your help. Right. If they do really need your help.
That they want your product, that they want your service, because that really is going to change and help their lives, and it's for their own good. That's the key.
Exactly.
Cool. Calibrated questions. The listener has control of the conversation, but avoid questions that can be answered with yes or no. Avoid those. Yeah, very few and far between, but avoid those, because you should be asking and you should be starting your questions with what, how, and sometimes why. Why sometimes is too aggressive for people, but what and how, those become your best friends. So here are a few examples. What about blank is important to you? What about this service or business or it's important to you? How can I help make this better for you? How can we solve the problem? What's the objective? What are we trying to accomplish here? How am I supposed to do that? I love that question because it really allows them to pitch in on something that they might have asked you that's like super crazy, or like imagine like a deal that's, they're trying to really, undercut you or something. You're like, how am I supposed to do that? And with one single question, you can like move mountains. 7, how will we know we are on track? Amazing question. How will we address things if we find we're off track? Again, key for negotiating. What happens if you do nothing? Great question. How is that worthwhile? How is that worth your while? These calibrated questions will allow you to guide the conversation in a greater depth than ever before.
I think sometimes we like to ask questions that are yes and no.
Yeah.
Because we want to feel like we're right or that we understand them. So we ask them a question that we obviously know is going to be a yes.
Right.
That doesn't do much for them.
Right.
It doesn't really trigger much emotion or commitment on their part. They have to be the one to say it. So again, kind of going back to interrupting their sentences, and when they're struggling to form a sentence or an idea and you kind of jump in to save them, don't. You're not on the call to save them, right? Hopefully what your service or product is, what you're doing for them, that's what's going to help them. But remember, they're their own hero.
Yeah, and you're there to diagnose.
Right? You're guiding them through this, these epiphanies that they're going to have.
Yeah.
Right. So don't save them. They need to know that they need help, and they have to ask for it.
Mm-hmm. Right? Exactly. I think there's around 3 questions in total in the whole script that are like yes or no questions. And one of those 3 is the yes, like let's do it. They want my help, right? So there's very, very few and far between. Same with the why, even though why can be very powerful to get to the real reason or the meaning of things. You want to be careful with it because sometimes it can be too direct for people and it might actually turn them off. It might get them to put on their walls and then it's hard to gain that trust back. So, when you say, but why? Why do you want that? Or why is it like, it's easier to say, how will that benefit your life? How will that, change this and that, instead of just saying, why do you want that? Or why is that important? Why is that important versus how is that important to you? Very, very different. Like one is so much more direct than the other. So use wisely. All right. Here are some crucial sales truths to remember. And we are pretty much at the last bit of our lesson here, but it's been so packed with value, man. Like as I'm giving it, I'm like, ooh, I wish I had this, honestly, when I first started, because I made so many mistakes and I'm really saving you a ton of pain here if you apply this.
Okay, so some general truths, just kind of summarizing a lot of the content that we've gone through today into 14 jam-packed truths that we'll get through now. And so again, to recap, number one, nobody is a natural salesman or a saleswoman. Salesmen are made through practice and training, right? So again, practice makes perfect. You have to do things over and over and over again to become a master. Number two, you can become a master at influence in sales using week 5 and week 6 modules of this program, right? So last week we talked a lot about your messaging, right? Your persuasion, right? How to persuade people and influence them. And so if you pair those nuggets of gold with what we went through today about, the true art and science behind sales, then you can become a master if you apply it over and over and over again, right? And make it extremely comfortable and profound in your mind that you don't have to go back to these notes anymore. You just know it and you do it. Number 3, you must be willing to practice and do the work, right? So again, it's a decision. You have to decide that you actually want to do this, that you have the ability to become a master at sales, and that you are going to put in the time and effort necessary in order to master it. Number 4, sales is a combination of mindset and real world practice. Okay, so it's not just reading, it's not just understanding, it's about actually implementing.
You got it.
You have to do both.
I love that. Thanks for putting that one. Yeah, no, seriously, because it's easy to just get caught in one thing, and sometimes you can get really discouraged, and you think that you need to change everything, you need to change your niche, you need to change your script or everything, but it's like, no, you just need more practice. Practice makes perfect. No one is born playing the piano or the violin, like you said. Practice makes perfect.
Right. And I know we get very easily discouraged when it doesn't go so well, but as with anything, you're not going to be good the first time.
Keep going, and again, keep coming back to this lesson to compare the baseline and to make sure that you are applying those mind shifts, you are following the sales script, you're using the right tone, the right mirrors, the right things, the right tools we're giving you, and just practice. They'll become ingrained in you, believe me.
Right. And when in doubt, just go back to, I think it was either in the second lesson or the first lesson, we had a quote by Albert Einstein, right? For number 4, that it's not that Albert Einstein said that he was more intelligent, stronger, more powerful than anyone else. Right. The reason he was able to achieve the level of success that he did was because he stuck to a problem longer than most people do.
Yeah.
That's really different. That's what it is. Seriously. That's what mastery is.
Seriously, we need to keep reminding ourselves of that, because the breakthrough will come, but it takes a lot of chipping away and a lot of digging sometimes before you find gold.
Exactly. Number 5, practice your script in front of the mirror and get comfortable with it. Right. So again, practicing not only the words, but the tone, the body language.
Yeah. Just looking at yourself, just delivering those lines, just like anything, you will become second nature the more you do it.
Mm-hmm. Number 6, print out the script and read it over every day. So every single day, reminding yourself, getting those questions that we're going to go through very soon ingrained in your mind.
Yeah.
Number 7, put full attachment onto an accurate diagnosis and detach from the outcome. So again, for number 7, think of the Hippocratic Oath. You're not there to give someone a diagnosis without proper questions, trying to get to the bottom of what's really troubling them, right? You can't diagnose them with diabetes when they come in with the sniffles.
Seriously.
You can't do that. It's malpractice. You could hurt someone. You can make the situation worse, and it is completely unethical, not to mention. Okay, so Hippocratic Oath, you're there to properly diagnose. You're seeking justice for them, trying to better their lives. Number 8, keep your ego in check.
So key.
So yeah, this one's hard, because even when your intention is good, right? You're like, I know what this person needs. I understand what kind of help they need, and they just don't get it. And it's easy to get into a place of ego then.
Yeah.
And think that you know better.
It's personal, or you're trying to prove yourself that you're good at what you do, and it's like, relax.
Right. It's a personal rejection to you. It's a personal, hit to you, and it's not. They're dealing with their own problems. They're each fighting their own battles. And so you have to have empathy and compassion towards their situation, because you've been there too. Even if you think they're being stubborn, they're not making the right decision, so be it. They're not ready yet. Right. And you've been there too. It probably took you a long time to get to even where you are taking this course today. And I know it took us a long time to get to where we are teaching this to you today. We had to get our own ego in check.
Seriously.
So we've been there. So have empathy for people that are behind you because you've been there too.
Right.
Number 9, don't judge the prospect in any way. So again, not judging them because you know you've been in their position. You've been stubborn. You've been lost. You've had troubles with your own ego. So don't judge them. Number 10, understand that you and the prospect are there for different reasons. Right. So you're here to diagnose. You're here to be a guide. They are here seeking help. And seeking help is a very vulnerable position.
It is.
It is not easy to ask for help and to admit your shortcomings.
Yeah.
And so understand that. So again, have mercy, have compassion.
Right.
Number 11, understand that sales is not a game. It's about meeting people heart to heart. Right. So again, you're there to be, you're an ethical guide. You're someone who's there to provide authority, but for the most authentic reasons. It's not a game. This is lives that you're playing with here. Real lives.
Real lives.
Okay, and what you do here could make or break their future. So make choices wisely. You're supposed to be meeting them heart to heart, properly diagnosing, and really caring about what their needs are over your own. Even if you need the money, it's more important about, is this a proper diagnosis for them or not? Number 12, be in a quiet room without distractions and use earphones to express yourself with your hands freely, right? So even if you're a person, let's say, is used to, talking in the car on the phone, don't do that. Don't do that. Even if you're someone who believes, I can listen to music, I can have people in front of me, I can be in a public place. No. Even if you believe that you can get by and you can do okay, you will always do better in a quiet room with no distractions.
It's focus.
Exactly.
It's focus. If your focus is locked in what the customer is saying, it's going to be, a way better conversation than if you have one eye over here, you just heard another noise of someone that just walked by, and then it won't work. It's not ideal. So be in a quiet room. And the earphones, great thing too, because you do want to use your body language. Even though they can't see you still want to use it because it will reflect on your tone. Exactly.
So we said 55% is your physical body language.
And that influences the tone, and then the tone influences the words.
Exactly. Number 13, be fully present and release all emotion from the day's stress or previous calls that you may have had before this one. Right? So again, being present for this person, not going back to what you felt and what you thought with the person earlier, who, maybe it was a really stressful call. Maybe you were late for something earlier in the day, and maybe your child is sick and you have all this stress. You have to be able to detach from that and go into this with an open heart and open mind, right? A clean slate every time. And number 14, by increasing buying desire, reducing fear of loss, and emphasizing the ultimate benefit, you'll make more sales and satisfy more clients. So again, it's always about, reducing the fear of loss, whether that's for money or them thinking that they can't do it. You're always supposed to be, emphasizing the outcome that they truly desire and encouraging those dreams if you truly believe that this is a good fit, right? And that's the perfect outcome. Them truly wanting what you have to offer and believing in themselves, and you being like, hell yeah, I know I can give this to them. And I'm good at it. And I can get them to where they want to be.
Right. We're going to talk about the perfect 7-step close script. And I'm going to just give you a quick overview here, and then you'll have the whole script available to you. I'll just open it up to give you a quick, overview here, but I don't want to take that too much time. So let's just dive right in quickly. All right. Take the lead and stay the agenda. So how does that actually look like? Take the lead and stay the agenda. This is the part where you're literally just gonna, talk a little small talk here, and then literally telling them how the call is going to go. You say, hey, I'm gonna start by asking you some questions about your business and your application, which you sent through. Then, if it sounds like I can help and we're a good fit, I'll explain what I'll have to offer and how everything works. Then at the end, you can make a decision whether you want to be a part of it or not. Why is that important? Well, the first part is so important because you literally put away any kind of tension, them thinking that you want to sell. Like you just told them how the call is going to go. So they are now clear on like your intention and the agenda of the call. And it's very, very well put. You're just saying, listen, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to ask you some questions. I don't know if it's a good fit. Only if it's a good fit, I'll tell you what I have to offer. And that's it. And then they'll say, okay, sounds good. Then the first question, hey, Bob, tell me what motivated you to come or to take time out of your day and to schedule a call with me. Okay. And again, this part of the agenda. Okay. So once you do that, you move into number 2, which is the current situation and pain. Again, you want to take the time to do this on your own. I just want to give you a quick overview right now. I'm not going to dive, every single question, but just a quick overview. Number 2, again, the current situation. You want to have that clearly defined outcome, just like we, said on our lesson right here. Clearly defined current state. This is the stage we're at. Okay, you state the agenda, and now we want to dive into that current situation. So you start gathering data. Hey, tell me about your business. What are you selling? How are you pricing that? Who's your ideal customer? And all these different questions that obviously come with it, and you'll have to adapt them to whatever that is for you. Whatever that current situation looks like, and the questions that will allow you to uncover and unpack the current situation and their pain.
Right. Obviously, for example, how are you currently getting customers? Well, if your ideal avatar, isn't trying to get customers, if they don't have their own business, you're helping them, let's say, with weight loss, or helping them get, their diet in check, nutrition in check. How are you currently trying to achieve, a better diet or better eating habits? So yeah, you will have to adjust it depending if you have clients that have their own clients,
right,
or if you have clients who you're trying to serve them a certain outcome in their personal life.
Exactly. Yeah. And this goes back to having the clearly defined current situation, clearly defined desired outcome, and just stick to the framework, but play with the questions that apply to your industry. Then you're going to uncover the web of pain. Do you know how much it's costing you to get a new customer? Do you have a process in place?
Right. So moving back to the other one, do you know how much it's costing you not being able to get your health in check?
In check, exactly.
Like, what is that costing you? Are you not able to play with your children?
Right.
Are you not able to, walk up a flight of stairs without feeling completely out of breath and drained? Right. So really identifying what that pain is and how it's affecting them externally.
Yeah. Look at this one. Do you know how much time or money you're losing each day by not having the right systems in place? It's a question that, again, it's meant and it's architected to uncover and to push that pain, right? Then step 3, desired situation. Okay, we go now to the green. Clearly defined desired state, right? Like very, very easy framework. But what you're doing here, you're literally moving them from one state to the other, and you're starting to gain leverage that will lead to the 6 and 7. But before we get to that, we want to know what are the external goals. So this might look like the actual money, or the actual losing weight, or the actual whatever transformation, emotional transformation, whatever you are giving your clients. But then as you ask questions, you want to narrow down and move into the internal goals. So once you understand, for example, how much money they're making, or how much weight they want to lose, something that's tangible, something that's external, then it's so much easier to move into the internal and say, would getting to $10,000 have an impact on other areas of your life? Tell me about that. How will it be different in your lifestyle? How will it have an impact on your marriage, or your hobbies, or your health?
It's very rarely the money is the ultimate goal.
Right.
There might be a few people, but very rarely it is. And so
rare.
let's say if your goal is $20,000 a month, that's obviously going to have a profound effect on your marriage, because presumably you're probably going to get to work less and see your partner more.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be able to see your kids. Maybe you'll get to send them to a different school.
Exactly.
Because you feel like they're not being challenged enough where they currently are. And so it's always more of an internal battle of fighting.
Money.
Right? So these are important. Really important.
Because money in itself, you can't eat money. You can't really, money is just an exchange tool. So obviously they're looking to exchange something with that. Although of course, like there are a few people that are just driven by that greed, but even in reality, when you start like digging down, you might notice that there's a bigger picture. But anyway, so as we said, number one, you take the lead. Number two, current situation and pain questions. Number three, desired situation. You really want to take the time to explore the vision with them, to get them to believe in new possibilities, to get them to really expand their limits of what it's possible for their lives. And we put that here. Like if they're aiming too low, help them aim higher and widen what's possible for them beyond what they might see for themselves. Okay, you can even use a case study or a story to tell people like, hey, listen, like someone just like you, they thought it was only possible to achieve, let's say, $2,000, and actually they ended up achieving 10,000. So they really broke their 4-minute mile. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I was just gonna say,
I love it.
All of this goes into last week's lesson.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the impact of persuasion, right? More on persuasion influence, and this is really you expanding their horizons is, well, allaying some of their fears and being like, no, this is actually possible for you. Don't let this hold you back. And you're also encouraging their dreams.
Yeah.
And as we know, people will do anything for those who allay their fears.
Exactly.
Motivate their dreams. Yeah. And these are what we learned last week. And so this is really coming into action right here.
Yeah, coming into action. I love it. Thanks for bringing it back. Yeah.
Is about the epiphanies of empathy.
Yeah.
Right? If they still don't believe that whatever is possible for them, let's say they said $5,000 a month, that's my goal.
Right.
And you're like, what? I really think that you could aim a lot higher than that. I really think that 15,000 is possible for you. They're like, really? Yeah. Well, they're not really sure yet.
And you're like,
actually,
let me share with you.
This person that I work with, they were only making 3,000 and they also had a goal of 5,000. We actually were able, upon working together, to get them to 25,000 together.
And literally just like that, I'm not talking about you like going for a 10-minute rant about a case study. No, literally like 1-2 sentences being like, yeah, you know what? Actually, funny you mentioned Susie that came in, 3 months ago, thought the same exact thing you thought, that it was only possible to achieve blank.
And
but after working with us, look at where Susie is today. So do you think you could also achieve what Susie has achieved? Yes. Beautiful. Boom. You just expanded their horizon. Yeah, exactly. All right, step 4, acknowledge and expand the gap. Remember how I told you here? Like, again, everything builds one on top of the other and stacks. That's why it's key to follow the process. But in this part, you're going to acknowledge the gap. You want to acknowledge, like, what is that block? What is that gap? What does it actually look like for them? And you want to listen to these 3 magic statements before moving forward. Maybe the inability to do it on their own, or wanting to do it faster, or wanting to follow a proven system. The key is in them saying and recognizing this. Because if they are not clear on their biggest block, believe me, it's going to be almost impossible to close. You really need to take the time to like get them to define and tell you what is that biggest block. And this is how it looks like. Okay, Bob, so you're currently making $10,000 a month and you want to get to $50,000 a month. Tell me what's stopping you from achieving that on your own. Boom. If they tell you very specifically one of those 3, then you know you're good and you can move on.
Sound something like, if it's number 1, you really don't know. You'd be like, well, I'm not really sure how to do it. I get really confused. Yeah, I don't really have a clear path. Okay. Second one, want to do it faster. Well, I think maybe I could do it, but I really have to make this amount of money within the next 6 months. I just don't think I can get that quickly on my own.
Right. Exactly.
Or the last one, I think I could do it, but I'd really at this point like to have a mentor, someone who's already done it.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And then once you got there, you can now start getting leverage. Okay. So you're currently making $10,000 a month. Why not? Why not just stay where you are? I mean, why not just stay where you are? Okay. And is not having this affecting any other areas of your life. When are you wanting to fix it? Right. And so you really build upon the pain that you had uncovered on part 2. You're kind of like recapping, you're kind of like expanding that gap, right? Like, did you notice, do you see what we're doing here? Like you've spent some time defining this, and now you're here. You're like making it wider, making it, for them specifically, like, it's wide, but they need to come up to that realization that there's a, chasm, a, hole in between that it needs to be fixed some way. So look at even this question, and this can be applied across industry. Okay, and I know that you're wanting to fix this now or get this now, but how committed are you from a scale of 1 to 10 to make this happen? Be honest, and you can just kind of throw like, hey, like be on real talk, and then they tell you, oh, like 7 or 8, or you can say, hey, what would need to happen to make it a 10? Right, so you're getting this emotion, this leverage that's going to guide the rest of the conversation. And it says the responses to these questions always bring in the emotional drivers. Things like being a single mother, recently going through a divorce, etc., or like losing a job, quitting a job, etc. And there is always a powerful reason behind, like we said, a motivator behind why somebody wants to make more money or do whatever. You know what I mean?
And it's important that you really, again, help them clarify and connect to that emotion before you go into step 5.
Exactly. Step 5, ask permission and state the offer, right? So once again, you've taken the lead, you've defined the situation and pushed their pain. You've taken a little bit of time to talk about the vision. You've expanded the gap. They've told you they can do it on their own, or that, acknowledgement of wanting to do it faster, etc. And now is the time to move into stating what you're an expert at, but you want to do it very tactfully. And first of all, you want to recap. Hey, so you told me that wanting to get to blank, your vision or whatever, is really important to you because of blank. You also told me that not having the right systems or, the mentor or whatever is holding you back, or the biggest block. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, well, let me ask you, do you think that if we were to eliminate whatever blocks they just told you, leverage all your unused resources, that potential, that vision, and show you a proven system or whatever solution you have, and show you blank, right? Like these are all like fillers, for you to insert your stuff, that you could be successful? Yes. Okay, well, I just got one more question for you. Would you like me to help you? Yes. And of course, if you've done this well up to this point, the rest of the conversation is going to flow very easily, because they're going to want to be part of your solution. They're going to want to be part of your program, of your mentorship.
Right. And now going into this part, this is probably where you actually now speak the most.
Yeah.
You've done, listening.
Yeah. A lot of the diagnosis.
4 steps.
It's time to tell them what the actual medicine looks like, what the prescription looks like. So you want to take the time here to customize this as much as possible to them, because you want them to feel like, man, like this is perfect for me. Like that's my situation, and I definitely want to achieve that result. So it might sound something like, well, my area of expertise is helping, people that just quit their job, or helping coaches or experts, right? In my case. And we help them do blank 6-figure business by using Facebook groups, or by implementing the impact formula, whatever that looks like in your case. Once you state that, you be quiet. Shut up. And then the next step, when you've done this correctly, they're going to be the ones asking you and say, okay, so how does it work? Or how can you help me? Or what do you offer? Or you can even ask like, hey, would you like to know what I offer, what I'm good at, or what you want them to be, yes, to be wanting this information, not just you ranting. Like you're not just going to go from here to like saying what you do on your offer. No, like it's always this back and forth, because you always want to check in with them. You must talk about it at a high level and keep it vague. So once they actually ask you, hey, so what do you offer? Do not trigger the feature brain. Do not go in a huge rant telling them all the different things that you're doing for them. You want it to be vague, very outcome oriented, and you want to really customize this part of your script to fit your service or your offer.
Yeah, and this is very key. We don't want to, like you said, go into the feature brain, or this is when we start to go into technobabble, right? We assume that they understand all of the technical language that we use, because we're constantly
using it ourselves,
conversing with people who are doing similar things. And that's just not true. They don't know what those terms mean. And quite honestly, they don't really care. Right? They don't really need to know all of the ins and outs, every little piece. They just need to be reminded of what the outcome is that you're helping them achieve, and a very vague picture of how you do that. Right? They don't need to know every little bit. And if anything, that actually turns them the opposite way, because they get confused.
They get confused, exactly. They might start like getting overwhelmed with it, or their mind might go somewhere else. Like, no, remember something really key. Like we talked about this right here at the beginning of the lesson. That's why I open up with this, because when you fire and wire the right neural pathways, then right points, it's going to lead to that clarity and decisiveness. And you've been doing that successfully throughout your whole script, your whole call, your diagnosis. So in this part, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and go on a tangent where now you activate new parts of their brain, and we go back to like confused and incoherent. No, you want to keep it outcome oriented. And you also don't talk about price here. You ask for them to ask you the price, but we're going to go there in a second.
Wait for them.
Yeah. Again, you want to read this obviously in depth. I'm just going to give you an overview here. But so what happens is only when the prospects ask for it, because again, at this point, they're like, man, like they are an expert at exactly what I need. They do exactly what, I want to do, and it fills the gap perfectly. So then they're going to be like, man, like I wonder how much it costs, and they want to ask it now. You don't want to be the one telling them before they're ready. They are going to ask for it. And this is a huge shift that's something that not a lot of people teach about. This is something that I didn't know until I learned it, from Sam as well. So you and of course it comes with an incentivized pricing, where you essentially drop the price live on the call because you want to incentivize action takers. Again, you can read this as well. But once you say that, you be quiet, you shut up, and this silence is so crucial, because they are going to make a decision. They're going to either work with you and move forward, or no, or you got to go into 7, which is the objection handling and close, which normally happens.
And just while we're on the topic, I mean, it should be obvious at this point, but you are offering them one thing.
Right.
You're offering them only one thing.
Yeah, exactly. If you've done this successfully, again, like you've defined the current state, you've defined the desired state, and you know that there's only one bridge. Because if you, like, imagine if you have all these different bridges, all these different options, like your prospect's going to be so overwhelmed. It's going to say like, wait, so there's multiple ways to get to there? No, you want to position you and your offer as the bridge. There's only one bridge, one way specifically that's going to take them to the other side. You don't want to make it seem like it's just an option. People don't like options. That's a fallacy. People want to know the straight route, the one thing they need, and that's it. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't give me 100 things. Like literally, we see coaches like having like 5, 10 different products with all these different options. Like we went into this, girl's site the other day, and like she literally had like 2 pages of multiple different services at multiple different price points. And I'm just thinking like, oh my goodness, like you're selling it like a convenience store.
Yeah. Right. And I'm sure she definitely seemed like she had a lot of experience, and she definitely had a lot of value
to give
to her clients. But the way that she was presenting
positioning.
I think, as you said, she's commoditizing herself, right? She just becomes an option.
Yeah. Thinking that that's what people want. More options equals better. Not true.
No. People want, I mean, if it could be done for you, then that's what people want. Like as easy as possible, right? People want a clear path. And
you could take a pill and get all the money in the world. Like you'll be a trillionaire or something, but it's just one thing.
They have to put in the work. And so the closest thing you can get is your premium offer, one premium offer.
Yeah.
That's it.
The one that's actually going to bridge the gap. And again, you might have multiple offers at different price points through your value ladder. But the key here is that in the call, you only know there's one that will get them to the other side. Because one is,
right. You should have a general idea of what it is. If you are kind of on the fence between 2, maybe going into the call, that's even presuming you have more than one. I'm going to presume that you may only have talks 2 offers at this point. But let's even say you have 2. You have a vague idea that's going to be between those 2. By the end of the call, based on your questions you've asked, you need to come to a consensus on what that offer is.
Right.
It has to be one or the other.
Yeah.
It's not
exactly.
2. It's one or the other at the end of the call.
Yeah, and based on the questions, you should know, because maybe they're looking for more of a group coaching, or maybe they're looking more for your one-on-one, or maybe they're looking, like, again, just whatever is going to get them to bridge that gap. That's why it's so key that you stick to the process and you really expand on that, because if you are not clear on the vision, how can you make it happen? If you're not clear on the block, how can you make it happen, right? So you got to be extremely clear on these things.
Exactly. And so once you've given them what that incentivized pricing is for that one offer, then you are silent. And this is probably the most, it can be very awkward for people, right? As you can see, it says here, sometimes the silence can be longer than 1 to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's because people are like, this is when they're going through their oh crap moment, right?
Yeah, they're like, oh my gosh.
They know, they've clarified what their problem is. They know that they have a very clear desired solution now. They know that you are a person that can provide them with that clear solution. You are the one bridging that gap. And now all of their doubts about themselves are coming up in their mind. All the doubts about maybe your product still are coming up in their mind.
Everything is
all
like
of
racing.
The external problems, whether it's money, are coming up. And so their minds are racing at this point, and they feel a lot of pressure. And so it's actually doing yourself a favor and them too to just be quiet. Let them think. If they don't say anything, they're in their mind right now. They're trying to figure out what to do.
Give them the space they need.
You talking more is not going to help that.
Yeah. I've blown it so many times where I say it and then there's a little bit of silence and then I jump the gun. I'm like, oh, well, and I want to almost like sell it or like unpack it more because I feel like they need it. But it's like, it's just my own fear, my own insecurity.
Don't fear silence.
Don't
silence
fear
is your friend in this case.
Yeah, for sure. Even the word of God says that, like, even a fool is considered wise when they are like in silent mode, because it's so powerful when used correctly. And then last but not least, the objection and the close, where you obviously, if yes, you're gonna collect the credit card over the phone and they will be happy to give it to you because they know it's for their good and for the better outcome that they really been wanting to get. And so it shouldn't be a problem.
So they're the ones cracking the silence with why they're wanting something that sounds like this, right? Okay, what's next? Great, what's next?
Right.
Okay, how do we get started? All right, let's do it.
Right.
So you're listening for something like that, but they are the ones that should say the first thing after you've given the price.
Right.
They crack the silence.
Exactly. And of course, if not, then you're going to go into objections. I don't have enough time, or I need more time. I don't have enough money. And so, I'll definitely let you dive deeper and read them. But again, it's circling back to really wanting to isolate what is the real reason of it. Sometimes they'll tell you like an automatic program, like we were saying. Like, let's just take this one for example. I'll unpack this one right here for you. I have no money. Classic. Okay. Silence. We understand that finances can be a challenge, and we always do our best to work with people in this scenario. But let me ask you this. Is this something you really want to do? Because if it's not a good fit, that is okay too. Again, like, you want to circle back to, like, what is it that it's really in stake here? It's not so much whether they're going to, get your product or not. That's kind of irrelevant. It's more the decision of whether or not they're going to change their life, change their business, change their decision-making abilities or their life in any way. That's really the question here at stake.
Because when they say have no money, you have to assume that they've said this probably thousands of times.
Right.
Like, I don't have the money for this.
Right.
Same with the next one. I can't afford it. I can't afford it.
With like sleazy salesmen or other people that actually, it was just that polite way of saying, I don't care, I'm not interested or whatever. Yeah. Sometimes it comes out.
And they've probably even said I can't afford it to things that they really should have made the effort to afford.
Right.
To make a decision.
Yeah. And so, there's like quite a bit of objections here that you should really look at that. But I love this right here. This magic question when your prospects are on the fence. Look, the real decision you're making isn't whether or not to coach with me or get whatever result with me or anyone else out there. That's really irrelevant. The real decision you have to make is whether or not you are ready to commit to having the things they said they wanted to have in their business or their life, right? They just gave you a beautiful vision right here, right? They have a clearly defined state of why they wanted it, and it's so important, and it transcends the money. That's the real decision they're facing there. Whether or not you want to continue having these problems, or whether or not you're ready to commit to having the things you want. That's the real decision that you're going to be faced with. And until you're ready to change, this is magical. It makes a decision about gaining what they want in life, not about coaching with you or getting your product. Again, you want to separate as much as possible. It's not about your product, it's not about the money, it's not about any of those things. It's really about what, them getting the things they want in their life, and stop, basking in the problems that they just told you they're asking on.
Just not making excuses or, floundering in the land of indecisiveness forever. Indecisiveness is the killer of dreams, right? Doing nothing is making a choice.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a no.
Exactly.
It's a no to your dreams.
This is key. Just to close up, remember, they are not making a decision to work with you, coach with you, or buy your service or product. They're not. They're really not. They're making a decision on whether or not they want to stay stuck where they are, or move forward and gain the things in life they really want. That's really the main thing, because again, your product, it's only a bridge. You and your offer is only a bridge. So they're not really deciding what bridge they're going to get. That's not what they're deciding. They're really deciding, are they ready to commit and get to this and stop basking here? Are they ready to seize it and to, never let go of the idea and the hope of that defined state, defined outcome, that vision they want? Or are they going to stay stuck in their problems, stuck in their mindset, stuck in their ways, because really that is what's costing them the most money at the moment, the most time, the most health, the most emotional, the most everything. So you want to isolate as much as possible through the objection handling, because a lot of people will just say something in an automatic way, and you don't want to get flustered. You just want to be like, okay, let's chat about that, and circle back to, hey, so is this about the money, or is this about getting what you want? Is this about the time, or is it about getting what you want? What is it really about? And you always want to circle back to that. So yeah, you'll find that obviously as you read through it, but this script is so powerful. And I've used variations of this. Russell Brunson also has something, but it's a similar structure on, the vision and the blocks. And again, these are just human psychology and just how we're wired to, get to this state of decisiveness, clarity, action, and be able to make an empowered decision by getting you on your offer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. So that is basically it.
We'll just go over the action steps here before we wrap up. And so your action steps for week 6. Number 1 is to adapt the perfect 7-step script to you. So the script that we just went through with you.
You got it.
Go through it, adapt the questions to your specific business, what you offer your ideal avatar, and start running through it, right? Start understanding what the questions are. And as you saw, we warned you, right? It's 80% questions and then very little actual you telling them what you do at the end. You're diagnosing what they need. And number 2, you're going to adapt your pre-qualification process. So you will find this in your portal, which will be there by end of day. This is really, we're going to give you some questions and some things that you can do to qualify people before they get on the phone.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're positioned already in as the authority who can help them. They already know who you are and a vague idea at least of what you do.
And you have some key data before moving obviously into a full-blown call. And of course, we also teach that in your organic efforts, and we're going to talk more about this next week, but in your organic efforts, you also want to be connecting with people and maybe moving them to a shorter 15-minute call or so, just to explore if it's even worthy to move into the next process, right? So you're going to have a mix between the people that do come through your system and do take your survey, your qualification questions, and you get the full out application, and people that you just thought is a great fit and you want to move them to a call and you want to explore because you just really think that is your avatar and that you can really help them, right? So it's a mix between the two, of course, but you want to be able to have all the ammunition and everything you need. And with this lesson, with this tools we've shared, these mind shifts we've shared with you, you honestly are set. Like this is like 2 hours and plus, almost 2 hours and 20 minutes here of like pure like sales, like power, like sales value here, that literally if you only took this and memorized this and really applied it and implemented, you can become a monster salesman, even though you've never taken a full, blown course on sale or diploma on sales. Like, believe me, like this stuff is the real deal. And it's taken me more than 10 years to gather a lot of these resources and materials, because I've been, freelancing, since 10 years ago when I opened my first, quote unquote agency, did my first logo and started, closing people to do, websites or designs for like really cheap at the time. Actually, I didn't even start with websites. That was later. It was just like design stuff, like business card, a logo, throw me $25 here, $50 there, right? Like that's how it started. But really, in having hundreds and hundreds of these different calls and these different, sales experiences, I can tell you this lesson and these principles that we've shared here will become your baseline, and you can become like unstoppable. And if you learn sales, you will be able to always have life in your business. All right, so let's check out the quote.
So to wrap up, so we're going to leave you with, selling is really about having conversations with people and helping improve their company or their life. Usually it's both. If you look at it like that, selling is very admirable to do, by Lori Richardson. And so again, I just want to reiterate here that, again, this is not about just, getting your product or service into someone's hands and making a buck off of them. It's really about having a conversation. And hopefully you can tell by the script that you really are just asking questions, trying to get to the bottom of what they really need. And you're trying to improve their quality of life. Like, you're trying to help their business. If that's what you do. You're trying to help their marriage, their health, their relationship with their kids, whatever it may be, right? And that's obviously an admirable thing to do. When you look at it like that, it's going to change how you approach these phone calls and hopefully bring you from possibly a place of dreading selling to really wanting to get on the phone and just get to know them and hopefully help them get to the transformation they want to get to.
Exactly.
Right. So it's a completely different mind shift. And we really hope that this really changed the way that you think about selling. For sure.
You should be honestly set up with this when it comes to selling on the phone, because you got the mind shift, which is, a huge portion of it. And we literally give you the full out script. We give you the questions. We give you the tools, the tone, the mirrors, the labels, the silent, like all these different things. Like, you should be like ready to rock. And the second piece is obviously you. It's your action. It's your implementation of this. If you don't go ahead and start booking calls, if you don't go ahead and start filling your pipeline, you're obviously not going to be able to, get to any degree of good. But if you do, it's going to change your life. So I really hope that this lesson was amazing. And, message us on Slack. And if you have any questions and further clarification, love to assist you and love to be there for you. And let's get it. Let's crush it. Sales is fun. Sales is awesome because your sales is serving. And that really is the high level talk and the admirable thing to do, like Lori says.
Right. Stop selling. Start helping.
Start serving. Start helping. Exactly. Alrighty, guys. Take it easy, and we will catch you on the next one.